let's quickly bring you what I mentioned at the beginning of the program, that we'll be looking at non-oil exports today, the promotion of non-oil export sector in the country. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities also that are inherent? Just take a listen to this package that we have put together, where all the stakeholders in that sector, heralded by the NEPC, of course, the CEO and the executive director of NEPC was there. She was the host, Ms. Noye Ayeni, the Honorable Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, amongst others, even Dr. Konjo Iweala also at the event. But just take a listen to that and we'll be right back to stay.
The third National Conference on Non-Oil Exports, organized by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, focused on strategies to strengthen Nigeria's non-oil export sector as a pathway to economic diversification. Building on the success of the first and second editions, which highlighted policy frameworks and financing solutions with the themes Export for Survival, Optimizing Nigeria's Non-Oil Export Potential, and Building a Sustainable National Economy through Non-Oil Exports. The conference emphasized practical implementations and sustainable growth. The conference brought together stakeholders from government, private sector, academia, and civil society under the theme Promoting Non-Oil Exports for Rapid National Economic Growth.
With the theme Promoting Non-Oil Export for Rapid National Economic Growth, this event today underscores a mission critical to our national aspirations and the long-term viability of our economy as we come together to address an issue that is central to Nigeria's economic future. Let's reflect that a nation's true wealth lies not in its resources, but in its resilience and ability to adapt, to diversify an economy is to diversify its strength and to tap into untapped wealth. This guiding principle reminds us why we are here today, to move beyond our dependence on oil and build a more resilient, diverse economy that harnesses Nigeria's vast potential in non-oil exports, as non-oil exports are Nigeria's gateway to enduring economic prosperity.
Noye Ayeni, Executive Director, CEO, NEPC, provided an overview of Nigeria's current non-oil export performance, noting the sector's untapped potential. She highlighted initiatives such as capacity building for exporters and the development of export clusters to boost global competitiveness.
We've already embarked to do 400, we've advertised 400 exporters will be certified free of charge by Nigerian Export Promotion Council. We also have what we call the mentorship program. The mentorship program, we realize that the women, the SMEs, they want to export. They have what it takes, but they are not able, they don't understand the rudiments of export. So what we did was to connect them to the established exporters. We did 15 years last year, and today we've already embarked on training and mentoring 50 exporters. Majority of them are women, and by the time they finish, they will start exporting. And to this end, I'd like to thank the exporters that have helped us in this regard. There is, like I said, the mainstreaming is also a very important thing to us, because we said first half of the year we did $2.7 billion. This is a far cry. We realize that the export of Nigerian commodities going outside the country is humongous. And so we engaged the major players in this sector, and we went to Kebbi, we went to Oro, we went to Shaki, we went to Bitoro, we went and we got to there. Two things are important to us in this space: to document our export and to get data. We've already started getting data from some of these locations, and also to simplify the process. And it's that drive that took us to Central Bank of Nigeria. We wrote to them in terms of advocacy, and they answered us. We had meetings today, and I'm glad to say that after that meeting, working with Central Bank of Nigeria, we need to appreciate them here. They finally included CFA as one of the currencies that we can receive as export proceeds. Sorry. So as you are now, if you are exporting in CFA, you can actually receive your currencies in CFA. I think that's a brilliant one, and thanks to Central Bank. We will not stop there. We are also working with them to see how we can streamline documentation and make it easy for the exporters. And to this end, I would really like to appreciate the director, the Controller General of Customs. He sent his people with us to Kebbi, to Oron, to everywhere, and they are working with them to also operationalize the due. We're also working to operationalize the due. We realize that the top exporters, we really can't do much for them because they understand their business, they have the market. But there are logistic challenges. So we work with customs, with MPA, with NAFDAC, with NAQS. We are working to operationalize the due, to make the due domestic export warehouse a one-stop shop where exporters can come drop their goods, and then every agency will stamp it, and that's it. And the goods are exported straight to the port without disturbance. We have done the pilot run in Kano, Lalas Agro. We've done it in Dallas and in Dallas Inland Port, and we have also done it in S. Libra in Ikorodu. The next batch is to take it to the next level. I need to commend all the agencies that work with us to make this happen. Thank you very much. So we've done, in terms of rejects, I'm very conscious of the time because His Excellencies they are already going. But in terms of rejects, we want to appreciate WTO and ITC. This year we signed what we call the STDF 845, which was launched by Her Excellency Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. It's a counterpart funding of $1.2 million. And what are we doing? We are trying to look at how we can improve the quality and standard of cowpea and sesame, which is two of the major products that we export out of this country. And it's a 3-year program. We've started it, and we're making great moves in that regard. Permit me, ladies and gentlemen, to speak to women in export. Women are very crucial because women form the major part of our business. So we have what we call the Women in Export. A lot of capacity building programs have been done to empower women, and we have just signed on, or rather we have applied to WIDE, what we call Women in Export in Digital Economy, which is a fund or a grant that WTO has launched. And I believe, God willing, we should be one of the 3 countries that will be selected. And if we do that, we open it up to the women, especially women in digital trade. I think that's a good one. And then again, the youth. We have not forgotten the youth and the women. There are a lot of things that we're doing. 2 weeks ago, we launched what we call the Skills ESAC, Export Skills Acquisition Center. We signed partnership with Leluk. She's sitting here, where we are training youth and women below the ages of 45 on how to make bags. And you'll be seeing some of those bags. It's currently ongoing, and we did a relaunch of the garment making center. So we believe that will also help to take the youth out of the street, help them to key into the export value chain. And I think that is one of the things that give us pride. And it aligns with His Excellency's the Renew Hope agenda of job creation and poverty alleviation.
During her special remarks, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, emphasized the urgent need for Nigeria to shift away from oil dependency. She highlighted the critical role of non-oil exports in stabilizing the economy and creating sustainable growth opportunities.
Since the 1980s, the Nigerian economy has been heavily reliant on oil, and roughly 70% of our revenue and over 90% of foreign exchange earnings. The persistent volatility and unpredictability of oil prices has inflicted intermittent financial shocks on our economy. And today, as the global economy is rapidly evolving, the challenges we face, from fluctuating oil prices to conflicts in Europe and the Middle East, are showing us the pressing need, more than ever, to achieve sustainable development on our continent. And this underscores the importance of broadening our economic base and the AFCFTA. The privilege of non-oil exports has kept us going for decades. The privilege of oil exports has kept us going for decades, but we have so much more potential as a nation. And it is time to fully harness the potential of our non-oil exports. Nigeria is blessed with diverse resources, including agricultural products, solid minerals, pharmaceuticals, and a buoyant technological landscape. Our non-oil export sector is not just a necessity, it's an opportunity for job creation, an opportunity for innovation, an opportunity for increased revenue generation, an opportunity for poverty alleviation. And it is crucial that we work together to unlock this potential fully and to position Nigeria as a key player in the global market. Today, as we convene to discuss strategies to grow our non-oil exports, I emphasize the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment's unwavering commitment to supporting our exporters, and all the agencies of the ministry are also here well represented. We're all committed to supporting NEPC and supporting you, our private sector, as we implement policies aimed at simplifying trade processes, attracting and retaining foreign direct investment, and fostering an environment conducive to businesses to grow. Our goal is to ensure that Nigerian products are not only competitive, but are also desirable on the international stage. To achieve this, we must embrace collaboration among all stakeholders. And you can see agencies like Nigerian Customs Service very well represented here. So apart from the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and the agencies under it, we also have the full commitment of the federal government. The synergies between the government, the private sector, and the civil society is vital in transforming our aspirations into reality. I encourage businesses, entrepreneurs, and innovators to come together, share knowledge, and leverage our collective strengths. We're ready to work with you to make this a reality. As global consumers increasingly prioritize environmentally friendly products, it is imperative that we adapt our practices to meet these demands. By integrating sustainability into our production processes, we can enhance our competitiveness and contribute to a healthier planet. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is committed to repositioning this sector for national economic growth by aggressively implementing Nigeria's trade policy to encourage inclusive participation in wealth creation, thereby boosting the national economy. We aim to promote the export of high-quality, value-added products that align with the global best practices and strategically position Nigeria to take full advantage of the opportunities presented by the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that connects over 1 billion people, over 1.3 billion people in a single market, the largest in the world. I would like to reiterate our commitment to supporting NEPC in delivering this mandate. It's an important one. It's a very important one for the 8-point agenda of His Excellency, Mr. President, especially through strategic initiatives, Operation Double Your Exports. However, I cannot emphasize enough that this journey requires significant collaboration. It will require all of us. On our part, for industry, trade and investment, specifically trade and investment, we intend to support the private sector by reestablishing commodity exchanges, making sure that we maximize on the AFCFTA policy reviews, which we just did. I was in Addis over the weekend, and that we work with Ministry of Finance and Customs to make sure that we implement all the gains from that agreement and that Nigerian businesses can optimize that. We also commit to working on regulatory synergy for access to markets for MSMEs and for other large businesses as well. And this will continue with the work of the PEBEC under His Excellency the Vice President. We will support free trade zones in making sure that we help in attracting investment and generating more activity so that our exports can be more vibrant. So the public-private sector partnership is essential, and we believe that together we shall improve the volumes of our non-oil exports in concrete measurable terms, such as by volume, by value addition, and in dollar terms. This event is not only a testament to the administration's proactive strategies to rejuvenate our economy, but also a reminder that our future and the future of our children depends on our urgent ability to reduce our dependency on oil as the world transitions away from fossil fuels. The discussions over the next 2 days is an opportunity to remain focused on achieving actionable outcomes. I urge each of us to work in unison as we can overcome the obstacles. The opportunities are more than the obstacles before us. So let us seize the opportunity to drive our non-oil exports and together forge a path for more prosperity for all Nigerians.
Representing the Vice President, Senator Ibrahim Hadejia underscored the government's commitments to policy formulation and implementation to drive non-oil export growth.
A cursory analysis shows that in today's global economy, trade is the determining factor for any nation that desires prosperity for its citizenry. The reasons are not far-fetched. From the extractive industries, agriculture, to e-commerce and trade in services, particularly the creative industry, the opportunities are there for those who wish to exploit. For example, global trade is estimated to reach $32 trillion by the end of this year, 2024. The question we should be asking is how Nigeria and Africa can maximize these huge economic opportunities offered by the mere exchange of goods and services in the global market. We also intend to strengthen and reform all regulatory frameworks that will not just facilitate seamless trade, but enhance the ease of doing business, particularly for micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs, MSMEs, and business owners. More importantly, with Nigeria as a signatory to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, boosting about $1.4 billion in markets, there is a need for relevant stakeholders from both the public and organized private sector to proffer solutions to the myriad of challenges that are likely to inhibit Nigerian entrepreneurs from maximizing the opportunities offered by the AFCTA. We cannot afford to be a dumping ground for all sorts of goods, and at the end of the conference, I expect these issues to be addressed and a communique issued accordingly. This administration will not relent on its ongoing fiscal reforms. Therefore, we intend to rigorously pursue the economic policies we have put in place to reignite economic growth, improve on social welfare, and generally improve the living standard of Nigerians. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me at this juncture to briefly state some of the achievements made so far. Farmers are being incentivized to increase food production. There's the removal of tariffs on essential imports such as rice, wheat, sorghum, maize, drugs, and other pharmaceuticals and medical supplies. Distribution of fertilizer to farmers with a target to cultivate 10 million hectares of arable land, and provision of ₦1 million micro, small, and business loan to 75,000 beneficiaries to support MSMEs. For Nigeria to improve its balance of trade, there is a need to ensure the effective implementation of the country's trade policy. With the trade policy, we intend to substantially increase the contribution of the trade sector to the GDP and increase Nigeria's share of global trade. It is cheering to state here that the country's total external trade recorded a favorable trade balance of 6.5 trillion naira in the second quarter of the year 2024, out of which exports accounted for 60.89%, or equivalent to 19.42 trillion naira, representing a marginal increase of 1.31% compared to 19.17 trillion in quarter 1 2024, and a 201.76% rise over the 6.44 trillion in quarter 2 2023. Having said this, the diversification of the economy remains a top priority of this administration. It will reduce the overdependence of the national economy on oil and gas by promoting the export of value-added manufactured products. As we strive to develop a flourishing domestic market that is competitive and fully integrated into the global economy, this administration remains resolute in its quest to position the country as a strong economic force by formulating policies and adopting measures that will promote and increase patronage of made-in-Nigeria products enhance market access, increase the competitiveness of the country's products in the international market so that we can boost job creation and reduce unemployment. I wish to use this opportunity to reiterate that as a signatory to several trade agreements, Nigeria will continue to dialogue on improving and strengthening trade and investment opportunities as enshrined in the numerous bilateral and multilateral trade agreements between Nigeria and other countries.
The Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, stressed the need for Nigeria to maximize its trade potential by leveraging international markets and strengthening trade agreements.
The theme of this year's conference, Promoting Non-Oil Export for Rapid Economic Growth, comes at a very critical time globally. Nigeria has immense potential in diversifying its export base, particularly through non-oil exports. Leveraging this potential is essential not only for Nigeria's economy, but for fostering greater economic resilience and opportunity across the continent and beyond. We must continue the effort to push our growth beyond oil and gas. I must commend the NEPC for being a force in advancing this agenda, actively supporting the development of Nigeria's non-oil export sector. They are working to empower Nigerian businesses, including many micro, medium, and small enterprises, to expand their reach, strengthen their competitiveness, and contribute to the nation's economic development. One of the NEPC's standout initiatives has been its support for women entrepreneurs. Women play a critical role in driving inclusive growth, especially in trade sectors like agriculture, textile, and services, where many of Nigeria's talented women lead as business owners and innovators. By equipping women entrepreneurs with the tools, training, and access to markets they need, the NEPC can strengthen the economy through this diversification. At the WTO, we share this commitment to enabling all people, including women, to benefit from international trade. Our work is focused on ensuring that trade remains open, fair, and beneficial for all, especially for developing economies. Together with our sister organization, the International Trade Center, ITC, we are working with NEPC to connect Nigerian women to global value chains, helping them showcase their products and services on a global stage. Earlier this year, we also launched a program in agriculture with our affiliated agencies, the ITC and the Standards and Trade Development Facility, STDF, working together with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. The agriculture sector in Nigeria has the potential to be a major driver of export diversification and job creation. Nigeria is the world's largest producer and consumer of cowpeas and the world's fourth leading producer of sesame. However, Nigerian cowpea and sesame exports have faced border rejections in several destination markets due to non-compliance with international sanitary and phytosanitary requirements. To tackle these programs and these problems, and together again with the ministry, we launched a project of an initial $1.2 million aimed at building the capacities of stakeholders across the sesame and cowpeas value chains to better understand market access requirements, improving agricultural practices such as pesticide application, hygiene techniques, harvest and post-harvest methods, and food safety. This type of project is one that I term a low expenditure, high impact project. But we need more like this. We have so much more room to diversify in agriculture, in energy, in critical minerals, and even in services where our booming entertainment industry is known worldwide.
The event featured panel discussions exploring specific opportunities and challenges within the non-oil export space. Experts delved into value addition for agricultural commodities such as cocoa, cassava, and palm oil, stressing the need for robust processing and packaging infrastructure to meet international standards.
I know that NEXIM has a major role to play in promoting the development of non-oil export sector, particularly now that our interest rate is at the level at which it is now. I don't think anybody can walk into a commercial bank and take a facility at 30% and say you want to go and do exports, or any business for that matter.
there are 23 documents required for export, not 20, 23 of them. And of course, we've talked about this severally. And I think at this point, something has to be done. He also talked about policy alignment between trade policy and the financial policy, macroeconomic policies as well. And then the need for a regeneration of export houses, establishment of export houses, and charges by Ports Authority. And finally, talked about cargoes, cargo planes living here empty.
Already global players as Nigerians. So we are happy with the FCTA. It has come to stay. And for the benefit of those of us who don't know the importance, when you trade under the FCTA, you get some kind of trade concessions, both in terms of fees or whatever you need to pay to be able to access the market, both in Nigeria and where you are exporting to. And indeed, the example mentioned today was of a woman, that was the one mentioned by the chair of the AFCTA, was a woman who says, as it is black soap, who got an order from Kenya, that what she would have done for 2 years, she got in a day. So it's actually a game changer, and it's a huge opportunity. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is, Nigerians are already trading. What the FCTA needs to do is to go to these our traditional traders, especially the informal ones, and find out how they can better the ecosystem for them, not to create new rules for them, but to integrate them, learn from their experiences. Because if you see that something is already working, you don't try to create a new thing out of it.
We expect other countries to trade with us. We too, we want to trade with them and send our products to their doorsteps. Now, the ministry also, as the engine room of trade and investment in Nigeria. Presently, Nigeria is the delegation from Nigeria, they are in Geneva, working on our trade policy to ensure that we update it and we send right signal to our trade partners around the world. This is for us to be able to have as many trade partners as we would like to have, so that we will not be left behind in the global trade.
Annually, we host what we call the Non-Oil Export Seminar. We've done it for 9 times. The 9th edition was September 4th. And that brings in all the stakeholders on the value chain. We'll sit down, discuss, and talk about the way forward. And this has been very successful. I cannot begin to give you numbers now, amount of money we put in export financing, but we are very active. I think we are the bank with the highest number of NSPs in this. Yeah, NSP. Yeah, we do about 70% of the NSP done in this country as a bank, and I think that is huge. That is huge. So we want to work with the exporters. Go to Zenith Bank, you will see a team, a dedicated team that will take you through. Even if you have zero experience in exports and you are interested, we will take you through and you become a hugely successful exporter.
From a practical perspective of an exporter and somebody who is involved in the productive economy in Nigeria today, our biggest challenge is that of infrastructure. I don't want to dwell on what other panelists will discuss. My brother has talked about finance, so many others will talk about other issues, but the issue of infrastructure in particular is a big challenge. Today, ports, for instance, in Nigeria are a big challenge. Roads are a big challenge. Security is a big challenge. And when I say security here, I don't want us to restrict security only to say maybe it's something that has been is being handled by the security agencies. It is an infrastructure issue for us. producers, manufacturers, and exporters. Because if you can't get people to the farm, if you can't get products out of the farms to the factories, you have a problem.
Our quality control is very, very low. And we need to improve on this. How can we prefer, even Nigerians abroad, Ghana yam to Nigerian yam, when we have Benue and Elisha, the Jeshas, that have best yam produced and can meet the international market? But I want to encourage the Nigerian Export Promotion to start a good awareness around the state. Don't concentrate only on Abuja. Empower your state chapters so that they can start to educate the exporters how to do a proper packaging that will meet the international standard. It is very important because when we talk about rejection, we need to look inward. We need to look at ourselves as an exporter. What have you done wrong?
Onion is one of the most widely cultivated and consumed vegetable throughout the world. There is no household that does not consume this commodity. Onion is essential not because of its nutritional and medicinal value it offers, but because of the significant role it plays in supporting the livelihoods of the rural farmer, in contributing to the food security of the nation and the non-oil economy. Sir, Nigeria, I think, produced more than 2 million metric tons. We are the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. We are the second in Africa after Egypt that are producing 3 million metric tons. We are number 7th in the world after India and China, producing 24 and 23. But do you know what will interest you? When there is any global onion crisis, the largest onion producer currently is India. They always run to Nigeria through their high commission in search for onion. That means even the production of more than 2 million were underreported.
A lot of manufacturers now are only able to manufacture for 2 hours, 4 hours a day because they can't afford diesel, they can't afford petrol. So Minister yesterday talked about going green, sustainability as well, in terms of making sure that we bring sustainability into the manufacturing space. So looking at electricity, how can we infuse green electricity to help reduce the cost of doing business? I'll tell you, in British American Tobacco, one of the things we are doing is we have actually transited from diesel to gas and also introduced solar panel. Yes, it's capital intensive, but what it does in the long run, it helps you to be more competitive from a business angle. So there's need for the government to help. There are a lot of companies that are already in that green space to help to reduce the cost of electricity for factories operating in Nigeria.
We've been talking about mining from crisis point of view. Instead of value appreciation, value creation towards national development. National development. It is the individual miner is not the owner of the minerals. Nigerian corporate state is the owner of all minerals. All minerals. So we need to be extremely deliberate. It is with great pain that our financial institutions have not yet gotten it. They are playing at the periphery without deep insight, deep understanding as to what is it that we are talking about. Like he mentioned, barite, or may I say lead, contains silver and so many other derivatives, which we Nigerians will fully give away to all these countries. The military that are roaming around, right, serving and saving Nigerians are using bullet. That is battery. That is that lead that is inside that bullet. So we must unpack it and reduce it to the least reducible level so we can understand what we are talking about. Export is actually when you overproduce and you have met the demands of your local economy, and then the overproduction goes to export to earn foreign proceeds.
Most of our young people are acquiring digital skills, learning how to write programs, software development, learning how to do things like AI programming, how to do user experience, UI, UX, data science, data engineering, and all sorts of things. We speak English as our official language, right? That positions us to be able to communicate with potential companies that we work for all over the world, since most part of the world can speak English. And a favorable time zone in Africa that aligns with most of Europe and is good enough for the US market. And rising demand in this digital scale, create opportunities we can tap into, which we have not done so well, in this regard. And there is also a rising popularity in the concept of global value chain, which is the process where manufacturing of goods and services, span across geographical boundaries. I'll give you an example. A company could be in US and they are manufacturing and assembling their products in China, and their marketing team is sitting somewhere in Europe, and their customer support is sitting somewhere in India, right? And these are where most companies are working nowadays, meaning that a lot of Nigerians can sit down in Nigeria, work for this kind of company, earn FX, live good life, reduce unemployment, spread prosperity, and earn FX into the country. And these are opportunities that lies within the service and talent export.
As we are looking at the problems, let's be looking at the solutions. There is hardly a problem that will not have solution. And in every problems and solution, we also need what? We need partnership, we need collaboration, we need cooperation, we need synergy. Even from what was said yesterday, that no agency of the government should work in silos. So we also need interagency collaborations and cooperation.
For the export program that we hold with in partnership with LBS, that 50% women in our high fidelity product are entitled to 50% discount on the fees. So you are speaking to the converted. Thank you. Women, the bank pays 50% of the fees for the women in our as part of our product for the high fidelity product to encourage women to export.
Multiple speakers addressed key barriers hindering Nigeria's non-oil export growth, including infrastructural deficits, limited financing opportunities, and insufficient market intelligence.
It's important to mention that we have come a long way, but in order to reach our destination, we still have a long road to travel. It is paramount that the National Assembly and the federal government, particularly through the Ministry of Industries, Trade and Investment, working with agencies such as NEPC, FCPCC, NIPC, to the private sector and the whole lot, working in unison while avoiding working in silos to ensure, among the great programs that are already initiated, but one, establishment of a Weights and Measures Institute to ensure quality, fair trade, and international certification from the farm gate to the world's doorstep.
Today, Nigeria faces an urgent need to increase its foreign exchange earnings. Our reliance on import has not only placed immense pressure on the Naira, but has also held back the full potential of our productive sectors, moving from a consumption-based economy to a productive-centered economy is critical as we look to unlock new growth, create jobs, and build sustainable wealth across the country.
Promoting non-oil export is not just a policy choice, it is an economic imperative. A diversified export base strengthens the nation's economy by making it more resilient to global downturn and enhances its capacity to generate foreign exchange. Underscoring the importance of the agricultural sector, in particular, is the fact that in 2019, Nigeria recorded $10.4 billion in non-oil export, which was the highest recorded within the period 2000 to 2023.
We should encourage where, as it was mentioned, that there is a one-stop point where all the agencies come together and go through the activities of clearing the goods should be done immediately and speedily so that these goods can get to where they are going on time and in good condition. Where other nations are not even producing as much as we are producing, their products are even be valued more. Like when you go abroad, you hear, I want Ghana yam, I don't want Nigerian yam. I wouldn't know the reason, but it may have been as a result of how they were processed. Let us do more in that area. We want more money for the development of the nation, and I cannot miss word with that. If no oil can take that position, nobody will be killing each other over in the creek or anywhere. We all be playing our roles here and there, and Nigeria will be good for it.
The Third National Conference on Non-Oil Exports reaffirmed the sector's critical role in achieving Nigeria's economic objectives, with recommendations centered on infrastructural development, targeted policies, and public-private partnerships. The event highlighted a path towards a more diverse and resilient economy.